we need to talk. There are some new makeup releases that I've been trying lately, and I think it's finally time to let you know my thoughts and opinions. If you are new to my channel, hi, my name is Elle. You might be wondering why I'm holding this microphone or this brush as a microphone, and it's just to remind you not to take my thoughts and opinions too seriously. Take what you like, leave the rest, because at the end of the day, we are just talking about makeup, and this is my personal experience with products. With that being said, I do run things a little bit differently here on this channel. I do sprinkle in reviews here and there on my channel, but I want my channel to be more of a space that you go to hear more about the new makeup releases, to remind you to use what you have, and to also follow my beauty journey as a whole, where you can actually talk about not just the products themselves, but techniques or the culture around makeup. And for that reason, I don't always buy or try the newest thing. I actually prefer to wait for the hype to die down on a lot of products, because if you haven't noticed, a lot of viral products are simply just new makeup products or beauty products that are being sent to influencers in PR, and that's kind of what makes them viral, because it's that fresh new thing. For me, I tend to wait a little bit before buying a product, hear other people's thoughts and opinions, and then decide whether it's something I'm interested in and also something that would be worth sharing on my channel. And sometimes it takes me quite a while to review products, anywhere from 1 week to multiple months, because I want to make sure that when I am sharing my reviews on products, I'm fully confident in them and I've tried them enough times to make sure I'm only recommending products that I truly believe in. With that being said, I'm not immune to being influenced by TikTok, so these are some products I've been trying, and I will be sure to share both pros and cons of each product, so even if you have different preferences or different skin type than me, you can decide on your own whether or not something is meant for you. Starting off with the Haus Labs foundation. Y'all, this is like everyone's favorite, and I hesitated to buy the full size for quite a while. When this first launched and when it first went viral, I bought the kit that you can get on houselabs.com. It comes with multiple mini bottles of the foundation, so you can try to see what shade matches you best. Originally, I wasn't sure if it was worth it for me because it's the exact opposite of what I usually like in a foundation. It's super serum-like, water-like, very glowy and radiant. Feels more like skincare than it does foundation. I initially liked it for the application, but I wasn't sure if it was meant for me because I tend to stay away from products like that. But in the past month, I decided to try the mini bottles again and tested it in different scenarios to really just give it a second chance, and obviously I liked it because I bought the full size. I have the shade in 260, which is described as light, medium, cool, and a lot of the complaints about this foundation is the shade range. They do describe their shades kind of the opposite of a lot of other makeup brands. I know that they do it mainly off of the color wheel, so their cool tones are a little bit more on the golden olive side, I think. The bottle is high quality. She's expensive, but she feels expensive. Now, the formula itself, like I said, is not something I usually would recommend for my skin type, which is oily, acne prone. But if you prep this properly and you use the right setting spray, primer, powder, it will have longevity. So I would say give it a chance no matter your skin type. This is going to work for you with the right combination. Standalone, if you have oily skin, I think it's a little too slippy. I have to be really careful when I prep my skin with moisturizer, because if I have too much moisture or hydration on my face, this can be hard to blend because it ends up being streaky on the skin. It slips and slides. So just like I usually recommend if you have dry skin and you're using a matte foundation, you usually have to over hydrate. But with oily skin and the Haus Labs foundation, I think maybe it's best to under hydrate when it comes to your prep, because the Haus Labs foundation is very skincare-like, very hydrating, and in a beautiful way. It creates like this seamless base for the rest of your makeup, and that's what I love so much about it, that it's very glowy, but it acts like a primer for the rest of my makeup. I would also consider this more medium coverage, so if you are someone who prefers full coverage, I don't think you can get full coverage out of this, and I wouldn't recommend it to those of you who have extreme oily, acne-prone skin where you are looking to cover it up. Some of your skin is going to show through a little bit. So for that reason, if you have active like cystic acne that usually gets oily, this will kind of slip and slide around that area. With this foundation, I would use it more as a nice smooth base and canvas for my makeup, but I do not depend on this for my coverage, especially when it comes to acne. The next thing I've recently tried is the Makeup Forever HD Skin Face Sculpting Palette. This has gone so freaking viral over the past 2 years. I think it's a really popular product, so much so they released an entire blush and highlight palette for the holidays. I was very excited about this because I did get 25% off in their friends and family sale. I have waited so many months to buy this product, and I'm not gonna lie to you, I'm very disappointed. This is something that I would consider not to be a bad product, but it's just not for me. So it doesn't work for me, but it might work for you. It's just not the formula for my skin. I love the versatility. I love the palette. There is a lot of variation of skin tone shades in here, and then you have your highlight shades. They also have a palette that comes with blushes. I didn't choose that palette just because I didn't think I was going to get enough use out of the cream blushes. I would warn you that this does have a fragrance to it. It's a strong kind of rose water fragrance scent. So if you absolutely hate fragrance or the scent of rose, I would probably stay away from this. When you apply it on your face, you can initially smell it, but after a while it kind of fades away and I get kind of used to it. The formula is very creamy and easy to blend. It's exactly what you would expect this product to be. I think you would really like this if you have drier skin or potentially combo skin. If you have oily skin, I would probably tell you to stay away from it depending on what your preferences are, because it's such a creamy, very easy to blend formula. It's also really slippy, similar to the Haus foundation. If you're planning to use this as a like full coverage foundation, you're not gonna get full coverage from this product. The formula is a little bit more light to medium coverage, and I also hate that I find it difficult to get enough pigmentation with using a brush. When I'm using a brush, I really have to dig in there to get enough color. I'm constantly just taking the brush, patting in, and just like continuously just trying to build it up, and I feel like it's simply just too much work. If you do want more pigment, I noticed the best way to get that is by actually scraping it off the palette onto the back of your hand or another palette and then using a brush to apply it, because if you're going directly in with a brush, I don't get enough build up. Not only that, because the formula is a little bit more slippy, and no matter what motion I do, whether it's just like straight lines or patting motions, I find that like my brush picks up the product. So that's why I'm constantly having to build it up, because no matter the brush I'm using, it's consistently just removing the product off my face, and I hate that, truthfully. It does have a very glowy, radiant finish to it, which isn't terrible. You could always set that with powder, but it's the type of cream formula that feels sticky on the face or tacky on the face, at least on my skin. I usually prefer cream formulas that are more lightweight on the skin, feel more like cream to powder, and even when I set it with powder, I can still feel that tacky texture on my skin, and I just don't like that, especially as someone who has oily skin. If a product remains or feels sticky even with powder on top, it's a complete no-no, because it makes my face feel itchy, and if I were to touch it, this product will scrape right off my face. So with that being said, the idea is there, the concept is there, but it's not made for me. That's for sure. The other thing I would consider if you are looking to buy this product, even if you fall in love with it and maybe there's 1 or 2 shades you absolutely adore and you use up, you're gonna have to rebuy an entire palette in order to get a refill of that shade, because Makeup Forever currently doesn't sell refills of these palettes. Moving on to something that I have been holding in for a few months now. I bought this when I went to New York in July, and it is by far one of my favorite newest discoveries, and I would like to apologize in advance for how expensive it is. So let's take a deep breath. It is the Chanel Water Fresh Complexion Touch. This has been a long time coming. I have been admiring this for a long time, wanting to try it for a while, and it wasn't until I tried the CoverGirl Water Fresh Essence when I decided, yes, that's the exact type of product I want. So I bit the bullet, bought it in New York, and it has been my favorite skin tint type of product I've ever tried. I've tried a lot of skin tints. I always thought they weren't really meant for me. The only one that I really liked was the Fenty skin tint, but everything else was just either too dewy, too creasy, not enough coverage on me, didn't look like skin until I tried this. And the CoverGirl Water Fresh Essence is pretty good too, but these are not dupes of each other. The CoverGirl Water Fresh Essence is more of a dupe of the Chanel Water Fresh tint. This is the Complexion touch, which gives you more coverage. It has more concentrated pigments in it and so much more worth it in my opinion. So this is meant to either apply all over your face or you can apply it as like a concealer. I love this stuff, y'all. When you put it on the back of your hand, you kind of break up the pigments. A little goes a long way. Like this is half a pump and this can do probably half of my face. You break up the pigments, you blend it on to your skin, and it just gives a beautiful, fresh face finish. Even though this is a very expensive product, she's $70. I don't expect you to spend $70 on this. If anything, I would recommend the CoverGirl Water Fresh tint first. See if you like that type of texture and then upgrade to this. I do have a lot of redness, hyperpigmentation, and every once in a while I get some acne spots, which I'm totally fine with not covering on a daily basis, but I do want my skin to look a little bit more even. And when I apply this on, it evens out my skin tone and makes it look like how I look after I apply on skincare. This has become my go-to everyday product just because it looks and feels so lightweight and natural. If you want to truly look like no makeup as if you are just wearing skincare, but with more coverage than a usual skin tint, this right here, she's that girl, okay? I know for a fact this is gonna end up in my 2024 favorites. And of course, I had to buy the corresponding matching formula in the blush form. This is the Chanel Water Fresh Blush. By the way, the Chanel Complexion Touch doesn't have any fragrance in it, which is also an added plus. They're water fresh tints, and I think this Water Fresh Blush, I'm pretty sure they have the same scent in them. So if you don't like fragrance, don't bother with the Water Fresh tint. Now, this is something that you could totally pass on. If the Water Fresh tint is anything like this formula, it is super watery. Like this is watery, but it has more pigment, it has more color. This is more sheer, but again, the blush is very vibrant on the skin, and I do like this, but I find that this is a little bit too dewy or glowy on me. It gives the same finish and look as if you were using a regular liquid blush, so you don't have to spend $50, $60, however much this costs, just to get a product like this. I think if I were to choose between this or the Complexion Touch, I would recommend the Complexion Touch over this, but it's a nice to have. I do like to pair them together because this also gives that really fresh face, clean girl kind of blush cheeks. I totally forgot to mention the brush that I bought at Makeup Forever. This is the Makeup Forever 108 straight brush. It's the one that went viral when Glamzilla did that Laura Mercier foundation video, and I'm very disappointed. I bought this because I wanted something that would evenly distribute my foundation so that I can layer it. These are notoriously known to be streaky, and this is what that gives. It gives streaky, but I knew that going into it, so that's not the problem that I have with this. The problem that I have is how expensive it is. I got it for I think $34 or something like that with the discount, so originally probably like $38 or $40. I'm a brush connoisseur, and there's just some basic things that a brush needs to have if it's going to be that expensive. Number one should be soft, and this is scratchy as heck on my skin. It is scratchy. It performs, but it's scratchy, and for me, I cannot settle for that, especially for the price. There are better brushes out there. For example, I recently bought this brush from Real Techniques. It came in a set. It's their 110 brush, and it's that kind of flat edge spatula shape. So it does exactly what I want this brush to do, but it doesn't soak up as much product. It's not scratchy on the face, and it layers and evens out the amount of foundation I'm applying. It is also streaky, but I go in with a sponge afterwards or a foundation brush and blend it that way. Or you could just use a spatula to properly even out your foundation. When you graze your fingers on top of it, it feels soft, but on your face, it's very pokey on the skin, and I think they might have cut it in an angle that's not as comfortable on the skin and makes it a lot more sharp. So I don't like it, wouldn't recommend it, and I do not think it's worth the hype. Let's talk about blushes, because there have been so many blushes on the market. I've tried so many. I'm very passionate about blush and I cannot stop buying blush. I don't care how many blushes I have. It's one of my favorite makeup products, but all at the same time, I also think I struggle when it comes to blushes, and it's probably why I am so experimental, is because I'm trying to find a blush that actually works for my textured skin. So when Caliray released their blurring blush, it was everything I wanted and more. Number one, I love liquid blushes specifically. Liquid blushes, for some reason, have always worked for me better than cream blushes. Cream blushes usually fade quickly on my skin. They don't last as long. They also tend to be a lot dewier, and sometimes they don't completely set on the skin. So this already has brownie points for the fact that it's kind of like a liquid cream blush. Not only that, it has a blurring quality to it, a soft matte airbrushed finish to it, and it's budge proof and long lasting, which is everything I wanted in a blush and more. And now that I've tried this after a couple of weeks, I can confidently say this formula is everything that I wanted it to be. The only downside is the shade range. I feel like a lot of blushes that have launched lately are just these vibrant pinks, berries, oranges, and I just want some neutral blush colors, and I hope that the market of makeup and blushes ends up transitioning into something that is a little bit more neutral or beigey. Those are the types of blushes I've been craving. That being said, I have enjoyed these colors. They do have more of a white base to them, so if you apply too much on your skin, it's going to look stark, it's going to look out of place. 1 or 2 dots of these on my face personally works the best. I notice the more that I layer it on, the more out of place it looks, but you don't really need a lot of this to show up on your skin tone. Another really good launch for 2024. The Rhode blushes. Yes, I bought them. I was gonna wait till new shades came out, but truthfully, I couldn't wait any longer. I've been waiting too long and I wasn't sure when those blushes are gonna come out, so I just ordered the damn things. And right off the bat, I can say that I was wrong about the packaging. I know in my criticizing new makeup releases video, I was being very critical about the packaging. I felt like it was chubby, it was bulky, but it's actually smaller in person. Like if I compare it to the Haus Labs foundation, this is how small it is. If I compare it to my phone, this is how small it is. It is bulky though, which is kind of unnecessary, but I think that, you know, sometimes brands need to be innovative. They need to stand out from the crowd. So I'm not a hater, okay? I actually don't mind it, and I think that it's kind of cute. Kind of chubby. Not something that you could fit in your pocket though, because she's kind of thick and it would completely just pop out of your pocket looking very strange. That being said, this is one of the better cream blush formulas that I've tried. Again, I usually don't like cream blushes, but this one is not as glowy or radiant or overly greasy and dewy compared to a lot of other cream blushes that I've tried. It's very emollient, easy to blend on the skin, and once you blend it, I notice that it does set. The formula is a little bit thinner than other cream blushes that I've tried in the past, but I still don't think it's a product that's completely made for me. In terms of application, if you do get this, I think if you want sheer coverage, the best thing to do is apply it with a brush. So usually I take the brush, take the product that way, then apply it on my cheeks. That's going to give you more of a natural blended finish, and the product's going to look a little bit more sheer on the skin. If you do apply it directly on your face in dotting motions like you see on Instagram or TikTok, that is going to give you way more pigment, way more color. And I was able to use this on top of powder and underneath powder, and I found it worked perfectly fine. I think my biggest disappointment though is the shades. Again, I got shades that I felt like were a little bit more on the subtle side, the desaturated side, nothing too vibrant or crazy. I have Sleepy Girl, Freckle, Toasted Teddy, and Sleepy Girl and Freckle, they look good on my skin tone because they're lighter colors, but I feel like they fade quickly throughout the day, and I'm constantly trying to build up the color, but in a way it kind of disappears on my skin tone. And the shade Toasted Teddy was the one that I was most excited for, but not what I ended up expecting. So it's a beautiful burnt brownish red color, but I was hoping it was gonna have more brown to it than red. It's very much more bricky than I wanted it to be on my skin. So I'm not the biggest fan on how it looks on my skin tone, truthfully. I find that it can be a little bit muddy on me or a little bit too red on me. The shade's almost so on point. It's like the color of my acne scars. So for that reason, I'm not like a big fan of the way that it looks on my cheeks. What I do love this for is on my lips. The shade Toasted Teddy on my lips is a gorgeous autumn color. The next product is a liquid highlighter. This is the DIOR Forever Glow Maximizer in the shade Rosy. My mom gave me this, so I didn't have to buy it with my own money, thankfully, and I was so excited to get it because I tried this in store and really wanted to buy it. I struggle with the products that I put on my cheeks because if it looks too metallic, it looks awful on my skin, and that's why I tend to avoid highlights or anything glowy, but this is a perfect example of a product being an exception to that. Even if it's glowy, even if it has that highlighter effect, it will still look good on my skin, and this is exactly that. I've tried a similar formula, which was the Charlotte Tilbury Glowgasm wands, and it was in the shade, I think it was Pinkgasm, but that one for me always looks so metallic-y on my skin tone. It was not flattering at all. If I tried to apply it in the way that Madison Beer or every other person applies it on TikTok, it just was too much, and it would enhance all of my texture and my bumps and things like that. But for some reason, this formula is nearly the same color, nearly the same finish, and it doesn't do that. I think the shade could be slightly deeper than the one from Charlotte Tilbury. This one also is more sheer, and I noticed it's slightly less metallic, and it doesn't have like that silvery sheen to it. It's more of a true rosy pink sheen, and as you can tell, it just blends out to be very wet on the skin, and I could just wear this as a highlighter and it's going to make my skin look glowy, but not in a disgusting way. Like, it's more like a wet glow than a metallic glow. And then if you want to wear it as like a blush, you can just keep building it up to get the rosy color as a blush. All right, we've made it down to the two random items. First of all is the Saie Superglowy Ge Illuminator. If you haven't tried this already, you might be living under a rock. I have it in the sample size because I don't need any more glowy illuminators. I have enough. I've tried Charlotte Tilbury, I've tried Elle, I've tried L'Oreal, I've tried Drunk Elephant, I've done the things, so I have a mini. I personally wish I had the golden version, but this is the one that I was able to get in the mini in Star Glow. And the best way I could describe this formula, if you haven't tried it already, is that it's super, super thin. It feels like a serum, and it just blends out very naturally. It's very lightweight, and I think it makes a beautiful primer. I'm wondering if it would look good. Oh yeah, that's pretty. It's shiny, it gives more of a wet finish, but it's not metallic. So if I compare this to the e.l.f., the Charlotte Tilbury, those are more metallic than the Saie Superglowy. This gives you more of a sheer sheen to the skin, and I really like it because even if you apply it on top of powder, it's not too watery. Like, it doesn't pick up your foundation or anything like that. And look at that. It's a very natural glow. So even if you have textured skin, because it doesn't have like thick glitters or it's not too metallic-y, I think it's perfect. Like, truly, if you're a person who hates highlighter but you want to glow, this is what I would go for. And it's also really versatile. You can mix it in with products. You can put it underneath your makeup, put it on top of your makeup. You can put it on your collarbones. Out of all of the glowy products I've tried, this is worth the hype to me. Totally worth the hype, especially if you have my skin type. And then we have Glossier. So this was sent to me in PR quite a while back when they were relaunching their original OG formula. If you didn't know, this was one of their most famous products, Glossier Balm.com. Then they reformulated it to be vegan, and everyone hated it and bullied them into bringing back the OG. So they did, and they sent me an entire box with all of the scents and all of the flavors, and I was very excited because I've never tried their Balm.com Dotcom, I was always told that it was just like Vaseline and it wasn't worth the money. But I am here to tell you, those people are not completely wrong, but they're not completely right. The formula feels like Vaseline, but it's thicker. I have used Vaseline to moisturize my lips, and when people use this comparison, I do not get it because Vaseline is a thinner formula to me unless you apply on a lot. I don't feel it moisturizes my lips. If anything, it's better to lock in the moisture in my lips, but it doesn't add moisture to my lips. I love the different scents that they have. My favorite will forever be the mint flavor. I love mint lip balms in general. I feel like it soothes my lips. It's like that one scent before you smell my breath. It's not like your modern lip balm, like it's not a tinted lip balm. They do have tinted colors, but it's nothing like Summer Fridays or Tower 28 or Ole Henriksen or Rhode Skin. This is truly more like a lip balm. So think Aquaphor formula, thicker on the lips. It just has a scent to it. And then some of them do have colors to it, but they're a lot more sheer and not glossy. Like this is not a glossier formula. It's more like a soft satin finish to the lips. Finally, we made it. Those are all of the current viral TikTok makeup products that I was ready to finally share with you all. We are towards the end of the year, which is kind of crazy to say. Like we're in Q4, December is almost here, and it's gonna be 2025. And I don't know about you, but I have a thing about numbers, and I see numbers by fives, like 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. For some reason, that's the way that I see life. And so 2025 feels like a special year. Before you go, please leave a comment down below. I want to hear your thoughts and opinions. Let us know if there are any TikTok viral products you think is not worth the hype or is definitely worth the hype. Leave them reviews because we want to hear about it. Thank you all so much for watching this video. Like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, and as always, I'll catch you on the flip side. Bye!